음, Bonjour Nana, bonjour Beth, vous m'entendez? Can you hear
Bonjour.
me?
Yeah.
Bonjour. Ça va?
Oui, ça va? Toi?
Ah, très bien. Ça va, ça va. Okay. So it's still a little bit early to start class. Um, some students may join us a little bit later. Some of the students aren't going to be here today, so we might be a little bit maybe kind of short-handed, sort of. So we'll maybe wait for a couple minutes until everyone joins in, and then we're going to start by presenting today's class. Maybe you had some questions about what we saw last week that you want to talk about, or maybe something else. If you have any questions, you can ask now as we have a little bit of time ahead. If you don't, that's totally fine.
Oh, I'm not sure if I'm in the correct Discord channel. I have the main Discord,
Okay.
but I don't actually in the specific one. Is it when I join the link, it's just the main channel? Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Well, I'll send you by mail my Discord profile so you can send me an invite and I'll manually add you. I should have sent the link to join the private channel, but I kind of get what is wrong. So I'll send you a mail with my Discord info and I'll manually add you then. Okay. I
Yeah.
think that most of you are in the same problem. So okay. Okay. Alors, bonjour Johanna. Et alors, ça va? Good. Are you? Can you hear us, Johanna?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay. Ça va?
Ça va.
Ça va. So last time iPhone was who was iPhone? Can you hear us? So the person who is called iPhone, as I can see who's under that name. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm repeating myself, but who is iPhone? Oh, okay. Bella, okay. I'll just write down that you're Bella, okay. So that everybody can put a name on a kind of screen. Okay. Thank you. All right. I think that we are going to be able to start. I think that, well, some of you may be joining a bit later on. That's something that we'll have to see, I guess. For the time being, so for Joanna and Bella, did you have any questions regarding the previous class on Thursday, or do you have anything to ask me? Anything special?
I don't have any specific questions, but one thing that for me is harder is the pronunciation.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe if we could like focus on practicing and you can like correct me and maybe other students feel the same like my pronunciation, I would really love that.
Yeah, of course. So
I agree with that. I would love to work on the accent as well.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
is a big weak point for me, I guess. So it would really help if you can work on the accent and not just also the words, of course, but also the way we are saying it so that it
Okay, yeah.
sounds French as well.
I mean, sure, it's fair. This, of course, that we are going to look at some pronunciation and
Mhm.
talk a little bit, not like in the general sense of the phonetics in French. And of course, when we're learning new words or kind of reviewing some words that you may have learned before, we are, of course, going to talk about the pronunciation, which is very important. Okay, so it's about 1:05, okay. Okay, so we're going to be able to start. I think that we are 5, okay. Bonjour Chiara, ça va?
Ça va?
Ça va? Okay. So we're going to be able to start. So we're close to, well, the maximum students that we could have. Okay. So for those of you who may have not been there last time, the whole class is recorded. So if you want to kind of go back into some things that we have seen in today's class, I'm going to send you a Google Drive link where I will be posting every recording of the classes so that you may be able to kind of look at some of the specific things we saw today. Okay. Bonjour Sabrina. Ça va?
Bonjour. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have connection issues, but
Yeah, no problem. Pas de problème. We were just waiting for some other students, so we were not
okay.
just waiting for you, so don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just share my screen and we're going to start it. Okay. So last Thursday we were looking at the first introduction of our class, which was titled Bienvenue. Ça veut dire quoi, bienvenue? C'est quoi, bienvenue?
Oh, oh, me? Okay. I present myself.
Well, do you remember what is the meaning of bienvenue?
Oh, yeah.
So you remember? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So last time we talked about se présenter. Okay. Se présenter. And today we're going to talk about présenter. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between se présenter and présenter? There's a significant difference. Can anyone try to guess what's the difference between se présenter et présenter? No idea? Not at all? Okay. So se présenter is kind of introducing yourself or presenting myself or thyself, okay? And présenter is presenting, so that can be someone or something, okay? So today we're going to talk a little bit about something else than I. So we're going to look at different pronouns, okay? The objectives of today are to review, so what we saw last time, so the basic introduction of yourself, so the greetings, the presentation, so like the name, ça va, etc. And also about the genders, feminine and masculine, okay? And we are also going to learn so about introducing someone else. So we're going to talk about the different pronouns in French. We're going to present a family member. So we are going to talk to learn a bit about the vocabulary of the family. We're going to look at the basic numbers and the basic rules of negation. Okay. Does anyone kind of know about the numbers, the family members, maybe, or the basic rules of negation in French? Can kind of nod or just give me a thumbs up. It's if you kind of know something about it, like it has just to be something basic. Okay. So the table of context for today. What is the word or the sentence? Petite introduction. C'est quoi? Petite introduction.
Little introduction.
Yeah. So as you can see, introduction is the same thing as in English. Introduction. Okay. So we are going to firstly kind of do a little introduction, and we're going to review some of the stuff that we saw last time, okay? And then we're going to go deeper into the learning of today's class, okay? We're going to start off with une petite introduction. So as you can see on my screen right now, there's like some characters. So characters in French is personnage, okay? What kind of root do you recognize in the word personnage?
Person?
Person, yeah. So you can kind of see what's the root behind personnage. So who can read the first sentence? Et toi, tu es quel personnage?
I can do that.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Nona.
Et toi, tu es quel personnage?
Okay. There's just that little word here. So it's very yeah. It's very counterintuitive, as French has many mute letters in the end of words. That word is one of the many example of mute letters. So we would say tu es quel personnage? Okay. And who could read the second sentence? If anyone is willing to do it. If not, it's just fine. I'll do it in my own. Okay,
I
so
can't read.
well done if you want to do it. You're
Moi, je suis là.
okay.
Moi, je suis là, or something like that. Moi.
It's a good start. On dirait plutôt moi, je suis le. So
Ah, okay.
the for example, the E in French can have many pronunciations depending on certain aspects in words. But for example, at the end of words, especially like articles, it would be a basic okay, so moi je suis le. Okay. So what we are going to do right now is everyone is going to select a character and so kind of repeat the phrase moi je suis le. For example, I don't know, maybe you are the 21st, the 20th, the 15th, etc. Okay. And then you're going to ask a partner, so in a classroom, et toi, tu es quel personnage? So try to name, well, your classmates because it may be harder to know who you're asking to. Okay. So I'm going to start it. Okay. So moi je suis le 5. So basic numbers. Does anyone know what number is 5?
5?
5 again. Yep. So thank you, Joanna and Sabrina. 5. Okay, so moi je suis le 5. Okay. Et toi, Joanna, tu es quel personnage?
Moi, je suis le 14.
14. Très bien. Okay. So now you can ask someone
Okay.
else with the kind of catchphrase. Okay.
Et tu, Bethan, tu es quel personnage?
So just
Et toi. Sorry.
yeah, very good.
Moi, je suis le 21.
Okay.
Bella, et toi, tu es quel personnage?
Moi, je suis 11e. Et toi, Donna, tu es quel personnage?
Moi, je suis le. One sec. What is the translation of the sentence? Can you please tell me? I'm so sorry.
For moi je suis le.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's me.
Yeah.
I am the. And then
Which is like my age or something like that.
oh no, you have to select a character into the image that we can see on the screen right now. So for
Oh,
example,
okay. I'm so sorry. Okay.
no problem. Okay.
How? Okay. Okay. So the answer is moi je suis la un. Et toi, tu es quel personnage? Who's left? Kiara.
Moi, je suis le 3. Toi.
3. Okay, pretty good. All right.
I'm so sorry, I don't know who's left. Et toi, logo? Tu es quel personnage?
Can you hear us, Logo? Okay, well, I think that we're going to skip ahead. I'll just send her a message if she can hear us. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we're going to move on. Okay, so thanks for participating on this little activity. So for now, I imagine that most of you can't really explain how they're feeling, for example, here. So why would you choose, for example, Kara, the number 3? Maybe you could try to explain if you have some vocabulary in French related to emotions or something.
I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, I've got no knowledge of how to explain.
Yeah, well, that's something that we're going to have to see for sure. Okay. All right. So does anyone can or want maybe to explain their choice maybe? If they can, of course.
Say
Someone,
maybe maybe.
yeah, I'm trying. Someone has their microphone open. I think it's over. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on. About what we did last time. Okay, so we talked about basic presentations. So, what is the first sentence? Who can read the first sentence that I've underlined here? Who wants to read the first sentence?
Me?
Yeah.
Mm,
Okay.
Je m'appelle. Bonjour, je m'appelle Sabrina.
Très bien, okay.
Je suis.
Je suis. So for
Je
example,
suis.
here, so for example, for the je m'appelle or je suis, you could use both. So for example, you've kind of already answered. Je m'appelle, je suis. So what you're expecting after je m'appelle or je suis is your name or your, well, your last name or your first name, okay? So last name in French is nom, and first name is prénom, okay? So if you're ever kind of filling out some papers in French, that might be helpful, okay? Thanks. Merci beaucoup, Sabrina, okay?
Thank you.
Alors, does anyone know what to kind of answer after merci?
De rien.
De rien, très bien. So, well, maybe you could try to explain what does it mean in French.
In French, I don't know, but de rien, it's like not a big deal or don't mention it, something like
Yeah.
that.
It's kind of, yeah, that meaning. Rien means nothing, so it's kind of something you would say like, well, it's nothing, no big deal. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So who could answer the second sentence starting with je suis? Does anyone want to balance?
Je suis canadienne.
Très bien. Okay, je suis Canadienne. So what we are expecting here is la nationalité. Okay, so it's kind of transparent. I don't think I really have to explain what's nationalité. Okay, this is basically your citizenship in some sort of way. And for the last sentence, ça va. Okay, ça va. What could you possibly answer?
Bien.
Et
Et
toi?
toi?
Par exemple. Okay, for example, we could say bien et toi. But we could also like answer in a whole variety of way, okay? Does anyone would want to kind of contribute and give some other answers you could possibly answer? Or maybe if Donna, you have some more possible answers.
You could say bon, je suis bon.
Both. Okay, so both is. Could you try to explain what is both?
Not both, bon, like B-O-N.
Um.
Bon.
Okay. So, for example, there's a the difference between bon and bien. It's kind of different because bien would be like the corresponding word for as an answer to ça va. However, bon kind of means something that is good, like tasting good, for example. You could
Yeah,
say
I
of,
know it's
you
tasty
could say
also.
of a dish like c'est bon, this is good, or you could say for kind of a character trait, like someone who is good, c'est quelqu'un de bon. Okay. So in that case, we wouldn't really answer ça va with bon. We would say bien, as you've told earlier.
Oh, okay. Is there
So,
any other word though?
oh, well, there's many ways you could answer to ça va.
Can you respond back with ça va? Like
Ça
ça
va?
va?
Yeah.
and what?
Yeah, you can say ça va, okay? But how would you kind of pronunciate the ça va? Chiara, for example.
Like just in strictly referring to pronunciation, or do you mean like ça va très bien, merci, et toi?
Well, you could just say like simply in terms of pronunciation terms, because there's a difference between ça va and ça va, okay? So the interesting aspect here is really the mark of the question. I'm aware that in English it kind of works differently. Like there's we put also an emphasis on the inversion of the auxiliary with the subject, okay, with the pronouns, for example. In French, it's a little bit different. Kind of like to give or ask questions without the inversion. So we would be very very focused on pronouncing or really expressing the interrogation with, for example, the tone that is kind of going up with ça va, which is very different from ça va, okay? So thanks for kind of chirping in. So ça va, okay? Maybe someone else has maybe another answer to give to ça va.
Ça va mal?
Ça va mal, ouais, okay. Ça va mal, for example. So what is the difference between ça va and ça va mal?
Does it mean like I'm bad, like not so good?
Yeah. So it's not going okay, okay. And I'll think that I give a last one, okay. So it's something that I thought that Donna said is both. Can anyone try to guess what's both?
Maybe like not so good, not so bad.
Yeah.
Like expression only.
It's kind of this. It's kind of so in English. Both. It's
Isn't there sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no
Sorry,
problem.
you can continue.
Mhm.
Isn't there something called the same thing for both? It's like comme ça, comme si, like that.
Ah, comme ça, comme si. Yeah, it's kind of.
And for not, it's ça va pas, maybe.
Oh, for not. So for example, with the ça va,
Yeah, ça va pas.
ça va pas. Okay, ça va pas. I can add that. Okay, ça va pas. Very
And
good.
comme ça,
Okay.
comme si.
So you kind of explained it. Pa is the negation with the words not. Okay. And that's also something that we're going to see later on with the introduction of the negation in French, okay? But for the explanation of the word and the meaning bof, so it's so, but there's also a very big category of words in French, which are not really words. They're we call them onomatope. It's kind of a sound that is kind of transformed into a word. Bof is kind of something you would react when your ass is like bof. It's kind of a sigh, something that to really see or show that, well, it's not that great. It's so. Okay. So for the ones who are taking notes, maybe are you done with writing or can we move on? Okay. Donc, on va se demander un peu comment ça va. We're going to ask each other how are we doing today. Ça va, Bethan?
Bien, et toi?
Ça va, merci. Tu peux demander à quelqu'un d'autre? Could you try to ask someone else?
Ah, Joanna, ça va?
Oui, ça va. Sabrina, ça va?
Ça va bien. Et toi?
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
Et toi? Très bien, okay. So, Joanna, what should you answer to?
Oh, sorry. Ça va bien.
Okay, good. Sabrina, your turn to ask someone else.
Ça va, Logan?
So, apparently she can't open her microphone, so maybe try to ask someone else.
Ça va, Sierra?
Ça va très bien. Ça va, Bella?
Très bien, merci. Et toi?
Ça va. Merci.
Donna, ça va?
Moi?
Donna.
Donna,
Oh, Donna.
can she hear us? I'll just send her a message. Okay, so she can't hear us visibly, so I guess we'll just going to move on. Okay, so thanks for participating on this one here. And there's something that we saw that was very important. That was kind of your introduction to the gender norms in the French language. So we saw the basic difference between, for example, the masculine and the feminine genders. Okay. So can maybe someone remind the difference maybe between the masculine and the feminine? So for example, with the pronunciation or just how it is written?
Both.
I just wanted to ask, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Well, who wants to go first? So if you have a question, Donna, you can ask it right away.
I just wanted to just ask a little thing. What
Mhm.
can you just tell me another time? Ça va, mal means what? Ça va is good and mal.
Mal is kind of bad, okay?
Oh, like pas. So
Yeah, and good is bien or
so
bon,
good
depending
bad.
on. Mal is bad, yeah.
So it translates to good bad.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
No problem. Okay, so Joanna, you were wanting to say something.
Yeah, I think you were asking if it's just the spelling that's different or pronunciation,
Both.
or yeah, so both are different.
Yeah, so could you try to explain to the group what's the difference between those two columns? Maybe you can read some words and the masculine and the feminine.
I'll try. So yeah, the masculine is on the left,
Mhm.
feminine is on the right. My pronunciation is not so good, but française, I don't know.
So what did you say for the left column?
Français, français,
Français.
français, français, française,
Français, française. Okay. Very good.
français.
Français, française. So what's the difference between those two words, like in terms of the spelling?
There's an E added.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's construction.
I don't think I can hear much
Oh,
construction noise, so
I
that's
try to turn my mic off if it's too loud.
I can't hear much construction, so that's fine.
Okay.
So okay, so you told that there was the E that was kind of the big difference, and you can, or so everyone can see that the difference between the left column and the right column are the E. Okay, so the E, generally speaking, is the mark of the feminine gender. Okay, and for those of you, we kind of talked about it last week, but every word or every noun in French is gendered. So this is going to be a very important matter to kind of write and pronunciate French, okay? We also saw, for example, with the, well, the words following français, française. Can anyone read what's under those words? Or I can go ahead. Okay, I'll go ahead. So, just below français, française, we have australien, okay, and australienne, okay. So, we kind of have those two pronunciations that differ. We can see that a little letter, just the E letter, kind of brings in two, or just can make a word have two types of pronunciation. Okay. So for example, for the français, française, we can hear that the E is mute. We can't hear the E, but we can hear the consonant S, which usually is pronounced as a Z, just like in English. Okay. And on the second word, australienne, we can hear that the ends are pronounced, but not the E. So it's it kind of goes that way, in which the final E in words are mute. You can't hear them. However, they are very important because they're going to kind of modify the pronunciation of the words and the consonant before the vowel. Okay. And basically, so we saw those two words, and who could try to read the words below? So we have two different words. Can anyone give it a go? No one? Maybe Bethan, if you want to try.
I'm not sure on the Indian one, but Indian and then Indienne.
Okay, so for the first
Sound.
one, we would pronounce the same way as australien. Okay, so we don't hear the N, it's indien.
Okay.
And then indien. Okay, very good. And the last one, maybe Bethan, while you're still at it, maybe you can try to pronunciate.
Anglais and then anglaise.
Très bien. Anglais, anglaise. Yeah. So it's the same thing as the two befores, where we can see that the E is mute. In indien, we don't hear the E sound, which would be okay? But however, we can hear the consonant before, which is S or N, okay? Does anyone have a question about that? Nope, no question. Okay, so we're going to move on. So, we're getting into the thick of it, okay? With the verb être, okay. So this is going to be kind of your first go at a French verb, okay? So maybe someone can try to guess what's the verb être.
To be.
To be, yeah. It's in any language, this is the most important verb. So it's kind of a no-brainer that we start with the verb be, okay? So logically, which verb is used in the sentence je suis? It's être, okay? So être, okay. I'll just write it down. And which pronoun is used in je suis? So now we're talking about pronouns. I.
Je suis, I am.
Yeah. So basically the translation of the whole sentence would be I am, but je is the pronoun I, okay? So we kind of already kind of spoke with certain pronouns. We kind of already heard some of them. Does any one of you can try to bring or kind of tell some other pronouns you know? So we have je,
Who?
tu, yeah,
Il, elle.
yeah,
Nous, vous.
yep. And the last ones, if you remember correctly.
Il, ILS. I don't know how to pronounce it. And then
Yeah. So it's the same
elle.
pronunciation.
Il, elle.
Il, elle.
Okay.
You wouldn't be able to hear the difference orally because there's no difference.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks for all that info, Joanna. Okay. So here we have a kind of a table with the verbs or the verb être, okay, le verbe être. So as you can see, there's kind of a difference between French and English in terms of the pronouns we have, because there's tu, which is the equivalent of you, but we also have vous, which is the all other equivalent of you. So maybe can anyone try to kind of explain to the group what's the difference between tu and vous?
One is more formal and the other one is less formal, like s'il vous plaît, s'il te plaît.
So that's one of the part of the explanation, but it's
Okay.
correct. So I'm going to give the full explanation. So for example, if you see a table of conjugation in English, you have 5 pronouns. I think so, because you have I, then you have like maybe if you do the singular first and then the plural, you have the third person. So he, she, it. Then you have we, you, and they. However, you is both singular as plural in English, which is different in French. We can have tu, which would be for the singular part of the pronoun, and we also have vous. And as Donna said, vous can be singular. And if you're talking about someone who is a single person, and if you refer to them as vous, it is a very formal way to kind of communicate to someone. For example, you would call a teacher vous, you would call a, I don't know, an elderly person vous, or I don't know, maybe the president, you would call him vous, for example. But right now, I assume that it's not really important to know the basic rules of what we call vouvoiement. So using vous as a singular aspect and kind of something that is very formal, it's really not a big deal right now, because I assume that, well, if you address to someone as tu, it's totally fine. Because, I mean, you're still learning, so there should be any problem. But right now we are going to be looking into the il et elle pronouns, okay? Le pronom il et elle. Okay? So, as you can see, the conjugation between English and French is very different, okay? Can anyone try to read the colon of the French conjugation of the verb être? Can anyone try to give it a go? Someone? Okay, so I guess I'll start off, okay? Donc, the first one would be je suis. So we already saw that together. The second one is, what is the second one?
Tu es.
Tu es. Yeah, tu es. And then we have il ou elle est. Same pronunciation as tu es, even though there's a letter at the end, it is mute, okay? So we would say il ou elle est, okay? Then we have, what do we have? Nous.
Nous sommes.
Nous sommes, okay? So I'm going to kind of cross the mute letters. So here we have two mute letters. Nous sommes, okay? Then we have, ensuite, on a vous.
Vous êtes.
Vous, vous êtes, okay? Vous êtes. And so maybe you can hear in the vous êtes, there's something that is going on between those two different words, between the pronoun and the verb. What can you hear, Sabrina, between vous and être when we say vous êtes?
Vous êtes. What can I hear?
Yeah.
Oh.
So you have those two separate words,
Uh-huh.
and être. But when we kind of combine them, we hear vous êtes. So there's kind of what we call in French une liaison. It's kind of a link between two words. So for example, we have kind of here when we have a consonant letter and then that is followed by a vowel letter, we would kind of do a link, kind of an rolling between those two words. That's why you can hear the z. So we would say vous êtes, okay? And I'm going to
Like a Z.
like a Z, yeah. Because the letter S in French is is mostly pronounced as a Z at the end of words or when it's followed by something, okay? So vous êtes, I crossed again the mute letters, okay? And who can try to read the last one?
Ils ont.
Mm,
Ils
so
sont.
ils sont. Yeah,
Ils sont.
ils sont. And I'll cross the T because we can't hear it. S at the beginnings of words is pronounced S. Yeah. So ils sont. Okay. So as you can see, the French. Okay. Thanks for the heads up, Joanne. So there's a very specific difference between the conjugation in French and in English. Did some of you have tried to learn Spanish? So Sabrina, you're Spanish, so you're kind of used to that type of conjugation, like the French conjugation, with the different groups and different endings in or different pattern endings in verbs. But for those of you who have tried maybe to learn different language like Spanish, so it's kind of similar in that sense that we have a pattern of how you would end a word or a verb in a certain tense. Okay, so for example, the present tense is usually ending like that. Okay, which is very different from English, as the conjugation in English is very, very easy. Okay, usually it's the same conjugation or it's the same endings between every person, which is very different in French. Okay. Do you have any question about the conjugation être?
I just have a question. It's not a question, but can you just pronounce these ones like
Okay.
je suis, tu es,
Mhm.
il est,
Il est,
and then nous sommes,
nous sommes, très bien.
vous êtes,
Vous êtes,
vous êtes. Okay,
Mhm.
vous êtes and ils sont,
oui.
Okay.
So I've kind of crossed out the letters which are mute, which for those of you who are English speaker is very different because usually in English we kind of pronunciate every letter that is in the word. So it's of course kind of a big trap in French because we don't do that here. We have a lot of mute letters. Okay, any other questions maybe about the conjugation of être?
Sorry to interrupt. I do have one question. So, in regards to the silent letters, is there a general rule that can help you work out when you're learning new words if there are silent letters? Like, is it when certain letters are paired together?
Yeah. So for example, there's kind of a general rule about the way certain letters are mute. For example, the words in masculine, for example, who end or which end with like a consonant, it's usually mute because it's going to be kind of followed for the for the kind of modification if you go into a feminine version of the word so that we can hear that it's a feminine word. I don't know if you can kind of understand you, but for example, we'll go with the example of the verb être, okay? Here, for example, we have nous sommes with the E and S. So usually there's kind of a basic rule as in that in French, every word that ends with the E isn't pronounced. So the E isn't pronounced. It's a mute E. For example, if you have nous sommes, you wouldn't say nous sommes, you would say nous sommes. So the final sound would be the M, okay? And same thing for the plural rule in French. So it's the same thing as in English. In English, you kind of add a S. Well, the general rule is that you add an S to a word to make it plural. In French, we do that, but the S is never pronounced, which is different than in English, because in English, you're pronouncing the S to kind of know that it's a plural. In French, we don't do that. So every plural word that ends with an S, you wouldn't hear it. And same thing with the final E, you wouldn't hear it. So for example, in nous sommes, we can't hear the E, we can't hear the S. Same thing with vous êtes, we can't hear the E, we can't hear the S. Okay? And same thing here, same thing here. Okay? Does that kind of bring you some kind of understanding about the basic rules?
We messy.
Oh yeah, okay. All right, so we can move on. If nobody has another question about it, okay. So we are going to solely focus on the pronoun il ou elle, okay. So does anyone understand what's the difference between il et elle?
Him and her.
So it's not him and her because those are not pronoun relative. I think that's how you would pronounce it in English, pronoun relative, or I believe so. So those are, excuse me?
He and she.
Yeah, it's he and she, yeah. So those are the pronoms personnels, okay? Those are subjects in a sentence. So not to be talking about grammar in English, but this is like so pronoun kind of replaces a noun. So in the case of il, it would like replace a masculine noun or a masculine person, and L would be replacing a feminine word or a feminine person. Okay. So the problem here is that the 7 of you aren't women or aren't men. So we're only going to be using the L, okay? Could you try to present someone else? So for example, just tell elle s'appelle, ok? Qu'est-ce que c'est elle s'appelle? C'est quoi? C'est quoi elle s'appelle? What's the meaning behind elle s'appelle? Anyone does have a...
Is it she's called? Like,
Yeah, she's called.
what's
So
her name?
basically it would be she's called because in English you kind of say well her name is. In French we wouldn't particularly use that phrasing to kind of name someone, okay, or to present someone. We would generally use, so the translation that you did with she's called, okay. So it's in the passive voice, okay. Elle s'appelle, her name is, she's called, whatever, okay. Elle s'appelle. So, Bethan, could you try to maybe name someone in the class? For example, elle s'appelle.
Yeah. Elle s'appelle Chiara.
Kiara, okay. Kiara, could you try to maybe name someone else?
Elle s'appelle Joanna.
Okay, and so forth. Maybe you can try to, Joanna, maybe you can try to name myself, okay? So with the pronoun il.
Il s'appelle Adriel, sorry.
Très bien. Okay, thanks. So there aren't much men in the class.
Yeah.
There aren't any. So I think that we're going to stick with the pronoun elle. Okay. Do you have any question about those two pronouns for now?
Can you translate the sentence? Elle s'appelle is
Okay, so Bethan did it. It's, you would say in English, the most used way to say it would be her name is for
okay.
Elle s'appelle. But if you
And il
translate,
s'appelle is man.
yeah, it's one is masculine, and how can you guess that it's masculine with the pronoun il et elle? Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Maybe. Nope. Okay, so we can do a pause of about 5 minutes if you want to kind of take a short break, okay? If not, we can just kind of roll on. I don't know. Does anyone want to do a pause, maybe? Or kind of a break?
I'm good without if other people are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay to continue.
Me too.
Okay, so
Thank you.
I think the majority wins, so we're going to continue, okay? Right now we're going to talk about the numbers. So Joanna, when we talked about the little characters, les personnages, you gave us some numbers, okay? Maybe you can try to read the first three for us.
0,
Zero.
1, un, deux, deux.
Okay.
Deux, I don't know.
Très bien. Deux. Okay.
Deux. Okay.
On va s'arrêter ici, okay? We're going to stop here about un et une. Can anyone try to give me the difference between un et une?
And one.
Hmm.
Un
So,
is like un Indian or something like that. Like Indian, an
très
Indian,
bien.
something like that.
For example, we would say une indienne, for example. And
Okay.
the important part here is that there's two genders. So un would be masculine, une would be feminine. Okay? And how can we possibly know which is masculine, which is feminine? Once again, it's the same thing. It's with the E. Okay? Fortunately for us, not every number has kind of that feminine and masculine version. Most of them are kind of neutral. So you would say deux. There's not like a feminine version with deux. Something I also forgot to talk about is that French, for example, as a language is not just masculine and then feminine. There's also a kind of a neutral gender, if you could call it that. However, the neutral gender is masculine. So for example, if you want to talk about something that is neutral in gender, you would use like the masculine gender. So for example, if you're talking about a group of person which has like I don't know, a couple of men and a couple of women, you would use the masculine gender because the group has both men and women, so it's neutral. And the neutral gender in French is the masculine. Okay. Ok. Donc un, une, et ensuite deux. Can anyone try to follow with the following three? Can anyone try the following?
Trois.
Trois. Mhm.
No. Trois.
So trois and quatre.
Carte.
Quatre. Can you try to give it another go?
Carte.
It's quatre.
No.
You start with the T and then with the R. Quatre.
Carte.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
harder.
Yeah.
Okay, quatre. And then the last one we have
Cinq.
cinq. Très bien. It's a little bit easier. Then we have, can anyone try to give it a go here?
Six.
Six. Okay. Six. So I'll just
Sept.
kind of do an explanation of how to pronounce it. It's kind of, or yeah, I'll do it better. It's an S. The pronunciation is an S. Six. Okay. Then we have, what number do
Sept.
we have? Set. Okay. So here the P is silent. Set. Okay. Then we have
Huit.
close. It's huit. Okay. So that sound may be a little hard to pronounce at first. Usually people, especially English speakers, have trouble with the U. They usually go to a U. Okay. So here it's huit. Okay. Then we have
Neuf.
neuf. Okay. No problem with neuf. And then the last one,
Dix.
this. Okay. And same thing here. Same thing that before with the cis is that we have an S. Okay. So the X in certain words, in digits at least, is pronounced S. So we have 0, 1 ou une, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 et 10. Okay. Does that seem correct for you for now, in terms of the pronunciation at least? Maybe someone can try to read them if they're not so sure about it.
Can I try?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So it will be zéro,
0,
un,
1,
un,
Mhm.
un, deux, trois, quatre,
4,
cinq,
ouais.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Très bien. Okay. So here, what I really wanted to highlight is the importance of the masculine and the feminine in the word in the words un et une, okay? Because that's going to be helpful a little later on, okay? Do you have any questions for now? No? Yep.
About the on and un,
Yep.
is you say it's the feminine or the masculine?
So un is
Uh,
masculine. And how
Okay.
could you possibly know that it's masculine?
mm,
So there's kind of a trick to know which is
Uh-huh.
masculine and which is feminine. It's with the final letter. Usually a masculine word would end with a consonant. Okay, so whichever consonant you want to end with. And a feminine word would end with an E vowel, okay? So usually for words that can be both masculine and feminine, the E is a big giveaway on its gender, okay?
Okay.
So for example, with the articles, do you know any, does anyone know any article in French and English?
The, which is le or le.
Yeah? Alors, on a le, par exemple,
Le.
la, les, okay? So what's le, la, les? So you've told that it was the, but what's the
Yeah.
difference between le, la, les? So I'll
Masculine and feminine. Le is feminine maybe, and la is masculine.
and les is plural.
Ah,
It's plural and neutral. It doesn't have any gender specifically. We don't know.
oh, okay. And
So,
or that is or an.
and
So yeah, it's
here
feminine.
it's a little bit different because le is masculine, la is feminine, and le is plural. Here it's kind of the same thing in Spanish, where the A is the mark of the feminine. So for example, with, well, the same word is in Spanish. La is both French and Spanish. Okay. That's
Okay.
yeah.
And how you pronounce is les noms?
Oui, les nombres.
Les noms? Okay.
Les nombres. Okay. Numbers. Okay. So can I move over to the next part, or do you still have some questions, things you want to do a deep dive on? No? Okay, so I'll move on. Okay, so now that we have seen the basic numbers that will be helpful for what we are going to see now, okay, we are going to learn about la famille. I assume that most of you understand the word la famille. Yeah? So Bethan, qu'est-ce que c'est la famille? C'est quoi la famille?
Your family?
Not specifically your family, but
Yeah.
family in general. Okay.
Family, yeah.
And we have an article here, la, okay? La. So famille, Bethan again. Is famille masculine or feminine?
Feminine?
Feminine, yeah.
Feminine, yeah, it's feminine. Okay. So we're going to try to read a short text that is kind of explaining.
But if
Yeah,
it's feminine,
excuse me,
family,
Donna?
if famille is feminine, then why are we using la and not le, le?
Oh, because we saw just before about the articles for the, okay? So we have le, la, les. We saw that le was masculine which is an exception, okay? And then la is feminine. And that rule here with the A for the feminine is kind of the same thing as in Spanish. Maybe you've tried to learn Spanish before, or you know some words in Spanish, where we use the article la for feminine words, okay? Or feminine gender words, okay?
And lay for masculine. L-E.
Le is for masculine, yeah. But we
Okay.
will say le,
Le. Okay. Okay.
because if you say les, the
Ah.
problem is that it's this article, les,
Okay.
and that's
So
Mhm.
so L-A and L-E is pronounced how? Can you repeat?
so for the word that I'm highlighting here, it's les, okay?
Okay.
L-E-S, les.
Mhm.
And for just the L-E, it's le. Le.
Le.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to read a short text, okay? I'm going to read the first part and then we're going to try together, okay? So, la famille de Christiane, okay? Title. Bonjour, je m'appelle Christiane. Je vais vous présenter ma famille. Okay? Ma famille. Can anyone try to read the following sentence? Qui est-ce qui veut lire les phrases suivantes?
Do you want it in English or French?
Well, the following sentence, mon frère, etc. So starting from the bracket here in French.
Okay. Mon frère s'appelle Henri. Voici ma mère Anne et mon père Paul. Ce sont mes parents.
Ce sont mes parents. Très bien, Beth. Merci beaucoup. Ce sont mes parents. Okay. Can anyone try to get the later sentence?
Mon oncle s'appelle Michel et ma tante Marie. Ils ont deux filles, Claire et Denise.
Okay.
Ce sont mes cousines.
Ce sont
Cousines.
mes cousines. Okay.
Cousines.
Just a little kind of break. So for example, for the word you pronounced it uncle. So it's
Mhm.
we would call it or we would pronounce it oncle. Okay.
Oncle.
For example, for the if I'm kind of writing into phonetics, for example,
Mhm.
in English you would pronounce it kind of like that, uncle. Okay.
Mhm.
In French, it would be like
Oncle.
okay, so like this,
Oh, oncle.
oncle,
Okay.
oncle.
Oncle. Okay.
oncle.
Et mon
Okay.
oncle.
Donc mon oncle s'appelle Michel et ma tante Marie. Ils ont deux filles, Claire et Denise. Ce sont mes cousines. Okay. And the last sentence. Maybe Bella, maybe Kiara.
Et, mon grand-père s'appelle Pierre et ma grand-mère s'appelle Françoise. Ce sont mes grands-parents.
Merci beaucoup, très très bien. Il n'y a rien à
Merci.
dire. Very good, Bella. Thank you. Ok, mon grand-père s'appelle Pierre et ma grand-mère s'appelle Françoise. Ce sont mes grands-parents. Okay. Okay, so we have a little bit of vocabulary here. So I'm going to highlight certain words and we are going to go through it. Okay. So some of them are really transparent with English. Okay. Okay, so Can anyone try to like give me some translation for the words that I've underlined here? Frère, mère, père, parent, oncle, tante, grand-père et grand-mère. And also you can, what did you say, Donna?
Frère, brother.
Yep. So you can always
Or
help yourself with the little kind of, I don't know, the, we call it in French, l'arbre généalogique, kind of the genetic tree. I don't know if
oh,
you,
okay, yeah.
so it's kind of, I don't know how you call it in English.
Generation tree.
Generation tree. Okay.
Or family tree.
Okay, family tree. Yeah. Okay, so thank you. So it's basically the same thing as in French. Okay, so frère is brother, as Donna said. Okay, thank you. Then we have ma mère. C'est quoi ma mère? Mère.
Mom or mother.
Yep. Père at the kind of the opposite.
Father
Father?
or dad.
Mm-hmm. Père, c'est father. Parent is written the same way as in English. Parent is parents. Okay. Just the pronunciation that is different. Okay. Donna, you pronounced oncle like uncle, so that would give you kind of the answer.
Yeah.
Is
Oncle, right?
oncle.
Oncle,
Oncle. Yeah.
Okay.
The final E here isn't pronounced. Oncle.
Okay, uncle. Okay.
The same thing
Uncle.
with the word after. We have tante, okay? And the E again is not pronounced. Okay. Same thing here. On a grand-père, grand-mère. I'll just, so you see how many letters you don't pronounce in certain French words, okay? So we don't pronounce the T, we don't pronounce the E. Okay, so what is grand-père?
Grandfather?
And the opposite, grand-mère, basically.
Grandmother.
Yep, okay. All right, okay. There's also some words that we need to talk about here.
Maybe I missed. You didn't tell us about tante. What does it mean?
Tante. So it's and, okay.
And?
Yep.
Oh,
Tante. Okay. We're going to talk about those two words that are very important here. So we call them in French adjectif possessif, and in English these are possessive adjectives, maybe possession adjectives. I don't know, maybe. So what's the difference between ma and mon?
again, masculine, feminine.
Yeah, but which is which?
Ma is feminine and mo is masculine.
Yep. So what is the adjectives, the possessive adjectives that you would use? For example, say your mother, you would say my mother. We would say my father, okay? We basically don't care if it's masculine, feminine, or even plural. So that's why it will be much more complicated to learn about the possessive adjectives because well, nouns in general in French are gendered. So we would say mon for masculine, we would say ma for feminine. And we would also say me if it's plural. So that's why we have under here me, which is the plural. Okay. That's why most of the tables that you're going to look at when you're going to learn French are going to be much more stuffed with different alternatives to say things. Same thing with the table of conjugation, where you have multiple ways or a lot of things to kind of learn here. Okay. So does anyone get the difference between ma, mon, and me? So again,
I have a question.
sure.
Like an example, when you say mon amour,
Mhm.
you can say also ma amour.
No, because amour is a masculine word.
Oh, okay.
So if when you say like mon amour, for example, it is masculine, even though you're, well, thinking of someone that is feminine or masculine.
Okay.
Because
It depends maybe the sentence or no. Like the
no,
word.
no,
No.
amour is basically all the time it is going to be masculine.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So you would only say mon amour.
Mon amour. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Amour is a masculine word, so you would only use mon. Yeah, that's something that I didn't mention. That I didn't think, because in English, the possessive adjective is kind of describing the user. So, for example, if we use like a pen, we would say, for example, if it's the pen for someone that is masculine, you would say his pen. So we kind of accord it with the user or the possessor, but that's different in French because adjectives are kind of the possessive adjectives are accorded with the object. Okay. So for example, we can take the same example with the pen, for example. Pen is stylo, okay? Stylo is a masculine word, so we would only be able to say mon stylo. Same thing with mon amour. Amour is masculine, so we would say mon. We would use that possessive adjective all the time. We wouldn't be able to use any other adjective if it's singular, because its gender is masculine. Does that seem clear to you?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, um, it this is something that you have to keep in mind. That in French, the possessive adjectives are related to the object and not the possessor. So you would have to kind of um, accord them accordingly. Okay. All right. So we've talked about this. We have le frère, la sœur, etc. Okay. And here we have another table of conjugation, but this time it is the verb avoir. Alors, on a vu le verbe être, okay, the verb être, logically, which would be the following verb that we are going to see. Maybe someone, well, I'm sure that you know the answer. What is the verb avoir? What is its meaning?
To have?
Yep, it's the verb to have. Logically speaking, when you learn a language, you start with be, then you go to have, and then maybe do, and etc. Okay, so we have le verbe avoir. If I put the conjugation of the verb être, you can see that this is very different from être. I'll try to do that here. I'll put the conjugation next to the verb. Okay. Okay. You can see that the conjugation is very different from être to be, or from être to avoir, okay? You can kind of see that this has nothing to do with être, okay? But there are some things that are kind of similar. What are the similarities between the conjugation of être and the conjugation of avoir? Does anyone want to give it a go? Nope. Okay, I'll start. So, for example, for the second person singular, we have an S. Here we have an S too. At nous sommes, nous avons an S too. And here we have NT, NT. Okay. Those are only present tense, okay? But you can see that there's kind of a pattern with the conjugation of verbs in French. If we strictly look at the verb avoir, well, we can see that learning French was a mistake because I have, you have, he has, we have, you have, they have starts to become very different, okay? So I'll start. J'ai, tu as, il a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont. So you can see right here that the conjugation is going to be really harder to learn, okay? If you strictly look at English, the way you would conjugate at the present tense, it's very straightforward. There's not much change, which is very different from French. Okay. Do you have any question about avoir for the moment? Maybe someone wants to try to read out loud the table of avoir. Or we can.
I'll try.
Okay, yeah. If you want to try, go ahead.
J'ai, tu as, il a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont.
Très bien. Very good. And you even did what we call the liaison ils ont. Very good. Okay. Okay, so we're going to finish by trying something. So we're going to try to, or each and every one of you are going to try to present its close family with the information that you want to give. Okay, so for example, if you have a brother or a sister, okay, we won't have much time to learn about the basic rules of negation. So we're going to strictly do the affirmation, okay? So here you have the table of conjugation. So you're going to be interested with j'ai, okay? And here you have an example. J'ai un frère. Mon frère a une sœur. Okay, so here, what is un et what is une? So we saw that un et une is a number, okay? and it is in English the equivalent. It's a ou un. However, here it's just that one is masculine and one is feminine. Okay. So who wants to start? Who wants to kind of maybe try to give it a go with j'ai un frère ou mon frère a une sœur, or for example, if you want to say I have, well, a brother, I have 2 brothers, I have 3 brothers, etc. Who wants to start to present their family?
I could try.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Merci beaucoup. Je t'écoute.
J'ai un frère.
Mhm.
That's it. What else? I don't have any sister, just one
Yeah.
brother. So that's all.
J'ai un frère. Okay. Next
Okay.
week we're going to learn about the negation, so you will be able to tell je n'ai, well, how you would say I don't have a sister, for example.
Je
Okay.
n'ai pas something like that.
Yeah, it's close enough. Je n'ai pas. It's
Je n'ai pas a sister.
je n'ai pas de sœur. Okay, very good.
Mhm.
Very, very good. Okay, you're kind of ahead. Okay. Who wants to?
Just a question. How you say sister in French?
So sister in French is just here. It's sœur.
Sœur.
So
Okay.
yeah. So oh, the O is mute. It's sœur. Okay, so Sabrina, maybe you want to kind of give it a go and present.
Yeah. J'ai un frère.
J'ai un frère, très bien. Mhm.
J'ai un frère. Mon père. Carte.
Quatre.
Pour.
Quatre. Okay.
Carte. Sœur.
4 sœurs.
Sœur.
Très bien, très bien. And what, for example, if you were writing, what would you write after sœur? So you've told mon frère,
Mon frère.
sœur.
Yeah.
What would you
Yeah.
add here?
Toi. Oh
So
no. Oh.
you would add an S
Okay.
because there are multiple.
Oh,
You would add an S. Same thing as in English. However, we can't hear it in French. Okay.
okay. But only is written, but not when you say it.
You
Silent.
don't hear it.
Mhm.
So it's only written, basically.
Okay. Okay. Mhm.
So for example, you would say, mon frère a 4 sœurs. You can't hear the S here. Okay. Does anyone want to give it a go, or are we good? Yeah, Joanna, maybe you want to try?
J'ai deux sœurs. J'ai deux sœurs.
J'ai des sœurs.
Sœurs.
It's like you would say in English, sir.
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 Like that. Okay.
Yeah.
J'ai deux sœurs.
Très bien. Okay. Very good. And same thing here, as it is plural, you would add an S, but you wouldn't hear it. Okay. Very good. So, we're already past 5 minutes, but if you want to still, if anyone wants to maybe try to give it a go, you can. If not, I'm not going to be holding you for much longer, okay? Does anyone want to try it?
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
The sentence that you've written on the j'ai un frère, mon frère, that one, why would you put the mon frère again if you've
So,
already said you have
yeah.
with it?
So the translation is mon frère a une sœur. It
Mhm.
was kind of to use the third person, il, okay? Because mon frère is il. It's the third person singular, okay? So it was to add the third person because we kind of saw the third person in the singular tense. Okay. So basically the translation would be my brother has a sister. Do you get the meaning? Yeah.
Is that like common to say? So like the full sentence would be, I have a brother and my brother has a sister.
No, it's not common. You wouldn't say it like this. It's just to kind of use the third person.
Okay.
But you wouldn't really see that kind of sentencing. Okay.
So if we are saying only me, is j'ai un frère.
Yeah.
And
So
how you say
eh,
and sisters? J'ai? Okay.
so it's the same thing as in Spanish.
Yeah.
Or not Spanish, Italian.
Okay.
Italian is French is
Okay. J'ai.
J'ai un frère et
Un frère.
une sœur and a sister.
Then is I?
Is I, yeah,
Oh, okay. Mhm.
like in Spanish. Any other question that maybe some of you want to address before going? Nothing to add? Okay. So we haven't fully finished the things I wanted to do here, so it's not a problem. Next week we're going to finish that little part, so we're going to talk about the basic rules of negation that we didn't have time to do today. And that's and we're also going to we'll just have to finish this one, and then we're going to be able to focus on something else. Okay. Do you have any question, any remarks, any demands to make about what we saw today, or about maybe next Thursday's class? Nope. Nothing to add. Nope. Okay.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Merci Sabrina. Merci beaucoup. Okay, so sorry for letting you a little bit late. I know it's almost 10 minutes past, so I hope that I didn't annoy you too much with the kind of the we were late, so I'm sorry about that. I'll try to make sure about that next time.
That was very helpful, the class. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Oh, de
It was
rien.
very helpful,
Merci,
class.
merci à toi,
Thank you so
Donna.
much.
Thank you
Even
for
if it's
coming
10
in.
minutes late.
If you still have any questions, you can write me an email. You can I'll link my Discord profile, so you can add me there if you want to. Maybe if you prefer directly talking on Discord, if you prefer Discord than mail, I'll join that later on in the day. Okay. So if you don't have any questions, you're free to go, and thanks for coming in. Merci beaucoup d'être venu.
Merci beaucoup.
Et on se voit jeudi.
Thank you. Merci, Adriel.
De rien, Sabrina. Au revoir.
Merci, au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir, Bethan. Au revoir, Chiara. Au revoir, Donna. Au
Au
revoir.
revoir.
Passez une bonne journée.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.